Buddy, it's Allison again. I'm getting my voice back, sewing in my trifocals. And tonight I'm going to put on at least one piece of the pretty ruffled elastic that I have in the color tile blue on my latest undergarment. And I'm going to try the non-circular method and see how that goes. And I'll show you some things I discovered with the last pair of underwear that made things a little bit easier. Right now I'm measuring out 20-inch piece of elastic for one of the legs. It just so happens that I can quarter mark it while I'm measuring it. Each 5 minutes is, or 5 inches is going to be a quarter of the elastic, so I'm going to mark these. So that's 10 inches. Okay, and that's 15. And then okay, let's see, here we go. And the last one is 20 inches. I wind up with a lot of little pieces of leftover elastic, and I really don't know what to do with them. They're so nice. Maybe if I made doll clothes or something, I would use them anyway. So there we go. There's our 20-inch piece of elastic. Now the next step is to take your garment, and we're going to be sewing the elastic on the outside, which is the right side. So for one leg, what I did was just put these two together. Okay, so that's going to be 1/4 mark. Just going to be right here, kind of in the middle of the crotch. So I'll mark that. And then we fold it in half again. It can be approximate. I think that worked okay. And we're going to mark that there on both sides of the leg. So I can mark it right here also. Clips. They seem to work really well with knitted fabric and other stuff. Elastic in particular. Maybe you can see. I hope. So this is going to be a little bit easier than dealing with pins, and also since it's not connected, it's a little easier than installing elastic in the round. It's a little frayed on the end, so I'm going to give it a little snip because I'm a little bit fussy. And what I'm going to do is just have the ruffle barely over, if I can. Probably will clippy it from the other side. That's what I did. Just over, and also mark on the other side the quarter marks, because I remember I actually looked at it from the wrong side and had quarter marks on the wrong side too, so that I could see the edge of the ruffle peeking over the edge of the fabric. That's how I lined it up. And so most of the ruffled elastic was on the fabric, and just a little bit is peeking over the edge, and you don't have to do that extra step of folding fabric over the elastic, because this elastic is pretty and you're going to want it to be on the outside. You don't want to hide it, especially if you ordered it from Amazon and it took a while to get here. So there we go. Now I remember what I did. And that is, I took this, and maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Let's see. There we go. I have the edge, a pretty roughly edge, is peeking out over the fabric. So I'm going to put pins at every quarter mark. I mean pins, clips. These are clips, they're not pins. And I'm going to have the ruffles peek out over here. could find the other quarter mark here, actually, that would be nice. Is yeah, okay. So we match up our first quarter marks on the panties and the elastic. Okay, and here comes the second quarter mark. So this is going to need a ton of stretching. It's going to be, I guess, pretty easy to deal with. Okay, and there's the third quarter mark. Put the clippy right there, and then the end is the fourth quarter mark. Okay, so here I am at the sewing machine, and the lady who invented these created feet, Claire Rowley Green, says that this foot, when you put elastic under it, it holds it down pretty well. In fact, I could take this little guide off. I'm not going to be using it, so hang on just a minute. Well, I can get this thing to pause. Okay, so I'm going to install this. This is one of these clip-on foots. I took the guide out, which is for putting small elastic or ribbons through, and it holds it in place while you sew it. But the foot is also made to really hold down the elastic, so theoretically you only have to pull it from the front when you're stretching and sewing. So now I'm going to turn the garment over and sew the elastic on from the outside. And what I discovered last time I did this, that it's a really great idea that your first stitch is going to be just stitching along the inner edge of this elastic to hold it kind of straight on the fabric, and then you can go back and do your triple zigzag in the middle of the elastic. Looks like the thread came out of this needle too, so one moment please. So here I'm using that little wire needle threader again, which is pretty terrific for these teeny tiny little sewing machine needles. Although I might need to get my other glasses on here. Aha, I got it through, okay. I'll unclip this foot for a minute so I can get the thread behind it. There we go. Okay. Foot, and the stitch that I use on the edge of this elastic to keep it nice and straight is the wobble stitch. And then I go back and do the 3-step zigzag. So we'll see here. I can get this to kind of line up here. That's not too bad, is it? Let's see. Okay, so here we go. We'll see what happens here. I'm not very close to the edge, actually. Let me just move this over a little bit. There's that issue. Not very close to the edge, but this this foot does hold things down very nicely. That is nice, so you don't have to pull on the back. Look at that. This foot is called the pearls and piping. No, I'm sorry, it is not either. It's called the sequins and ribbons foot, and it does a lot of great stuff. It's great for elastic. Claire Rowley Green, I guess she's Claire Rowley now, actually is a sewing machine mechanic as well, and she designed all these feet. And they do lots of different things, and they do them very, very well. This is really terrific. Than the last one, I was having to pull on the back and the front and really tug, and now I can just gently stretch this, and I can see that it's lined up pretty well. I really like these feet. I found them online in 2007, and I've been using them ever since, and here we are in 2018. Oops, we're kind of sewing through the ruffly part here. Let me move this over a little bit. I had it really in good position. I don't know what happened there. But we will try to to the edge there. I'm no expert at this. Fortunately, this is underwear. So anyway, now I'm back to doing it right, I think. And you just gently stretch it. Now that's working, sort of. Maybe I'll give it less of a wobble here. I'll put it to the lesser zigzag. Let's see. Okay, that's better. Trying to get the flat part of the ribbon and not the ruffly part of it. The elastic. Whoops. That was some kind of a weird noise. I better check that out. Nothing wrong with the machine at all. Okay, yeah, this is great. I just needed to make my wobble stitch a little less zigzaggy. And then I pretty much don't catch the ruffle with my needle. Kind of coming out right here, so I just kind of did this. And that's lovely. And then I'm just kind of guiding it with my right hand in the back. I'm doing a slight stretch with my left hand, not very much. Oh, here we have another case for the screwdriver. That works. I forgot about that. That's another thing I learned from Nancy Zeman, the late Nancy Zeman. Her videos taught me a lot. Oops. Let go of that a little bit too soon. Okay, we're getting to the end here. You don't need to stretch it a whole lot. This foot does a lot of the work for you. Okay. I'm going to try not to sew over my finger. Okay, now we'll just pull this clip off, and then I'm going to backtrack with the wobble stitch. I'm going to go forward again. I kind of caught this a little bit, but it's going to be under some other elastic, so that's not going to matter too much. So now look at that. We've got it pretty nicely attached. You can see from the back and the front. So I don't need any more clips. And now I can change over to the number 2 stitch length and the 3-step or triple zigzag, and just stretch it just a little. And that's the stitch that'll be in the middle, and it looks a little bit decorative, and it's going to make sure that elastic is firmly in place. So let me see here. Just kind of stuff it under here. There's that screwdriver. Here we go. Okay, so sorry about a little bit of bumping there. I have kind of a wobbly tripod. I think I'm going to get a different one. But anyway, here we go. We're going to start doing our 3-step zigzag. I'm just stretching it a little. On the last pair of undies that I did, it was just a lot of push me, pull you. A little bit too much. I just noticed here. Here's where I kind of got screwed up. I somehow sewed right over the ruffles, so I'll just pick that out while I'm here with my seam ripper. Okay. So I had a little trouble when I was starting this, but it's actually quite easy once you get the hang of it. Okay, so here we go. See, look at that, I'm not really fighting with this thing. You should have seen the last pair. It was like tug of war. It was just an awful lot of work. I'm going to give this a little bit of screwdriver therapy here. There we go. Oops, and of course I dropped the screwdriver on the floor. It's pretty realistic, this video, isn't it? It's me, and I make mistakes sometimes. Okay. So anyway, you get the general idea, and then I'll show you how the finished product looks. Sort of. The finished leg, I should say. After a while, you can get it in between those ruffles and go a little faster, which is nice. You learn to keep your eye on both sides of the elastic. I was slow to start up, but it gets a little easier as you go along. Switch hands here. What's going on there? Okay, that's kind of lumposo there, but anyway. That's a word I just made up. But here, you can see this works out pretty well. You don't have to pull and tug on it so much. See if this will focus at all. Turn this off for a minute and see if I can focus it better. As you can see here, it's a little bit better in focus. I tilt it this way, you can see the stitches. And it stretches really nicely. And this foot enabled me to do the back pretty nicely too, if I can get it on camera here. Let's see. Yes, I'm not a videographer. Okay, there we go. See, it looks pretty good on the back side too, and that elastic's going to stay and not go anywhere. So there you go. That's what I've learned about putting on the elastic, and happy sewing, everybody.